I have an important message for a select few. That's not all of you. This is for a select few of you guys that are listening or watching this. It's for trade business owners that have been around for a while. They understand the frustrations of marketing and being in control or not being in control. Guys, it's 2021 and many of you are marketing yourselves like it's the year 2000. Off the back of a global pandemic, we've seen huge shifts in the market with people turning to service providers they know, like, and trust. There's never been a better time to establish the tools and frameworks in your business to take advantage of these things. These things that will serve you not only now, but serve the business ongoing. Over at Tradie Web Guys, we've recently launched the Elevation Program. It equips businesses with the tools and the programs required to successfully market themselves. It gives you tools to re-engage with your past and present clients whilst nurturing potential clients. It creates assets in your company's name with no proprietary licenses. You own these things 100%. It gives your business a huge head start on the search engines with advanced SEO, and it collates all of the programs and all the services you need into one neat little bundle, including things like web development, website management, email marketing, SEO, Google Ads, loads of different softwares, strategy, support, and a bunch of other things. After going through this program, you'll have all the tools you need to market your business ongoing. You'll have a huge head start in your marketing, and you'll also have a CRM so you can continue to build your database whilst engaging your current customers and re-engaging those customers that you've essentially forgotten about. Marketing tools that you need, and they'll all be in your control. You don't owe anyone anything. You'll be able to dial it up and down essentially as you see fit. So why is this an important time to talk about this? Guys, it's important to know a lot about a little and a little about a lot. Meaning, you want to be in control. You want to know enough to be dangerous. I'm not trying to give you more work here. Essentially, we'll set everything up for you, teach you the basics, and then it's all yours. It's complete transparency. You'll never grow a business past a certain point without marketing. Word of mouth will only ever get you so far. We've spoken about it on the podcast a load of times. At some stage, you need to invest in these things. This is the simplest and most affordable way to do it. For more information, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/elevation, fill in the form, and let's make 2021 the year that you took control. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations, and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form, and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Shawn, g'day. Welcome to the Site Shed podcast.
Hey, man. Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Excited to be here.
All the way from where?
Salt Lake City, Utah, here in the United States.
Amazing. Is the snow drying up a bit there now?
Yeah, we're finally getting to some spring weather here. Had a good winter, good ski season here, but
really,
yeah, starting to get some sunshine. Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
So we were introduced by Pat Reddyhow from the podcast back on episode 291, who I believe is a client of yours, has been for a while.
Yes, yes.
And he suggested we have a chat as you run a consulting / coaching business. I love the topic of this series too, the confessions of a reformed business coach. I think this is great because you've sort of taken a bit of a direction over the years down the whole mindset side of coaching. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. And the confessions of a reformed business coach, the way I get there is I say I'm a reformed business coach turned mindset consultant, because after 20 years in the trades, almost 7 years of coaching contractors and working with them, I can tell you that business process, business systems, although very important and very necessary, they don't work right when your head's not on straight and when you let all your stinking thing get in the way. So I shifted a couple of years ago to exclusively working with contractors and the trades on mindset. And it's been amazing, the impact I've been able to have.
I totally relate to that because, even I'm part of a little coaching business over here in Australia. And although I'm sort of just more of a of a shareholder than actually an invested active member in it. But the issue we had in the early stages was people just weren't coachable. And so we had to we had to send them off to get mindset training so that they became coachable. And that's kind of what we did. We had to teach them leadership and teach them mindset and all these kind of things. And they came back to us and, oh, wow, look, lo and behold, now they're coachable. Now they're actually getting results. So I completely relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, for me, I mean, that's what it was. I was working for a national training organization here in the United States that has a very good sales process. I mean, 20-year track record of if you want to improve your sales, use this system. And I would find it interesting that I could, I trained hundreds of people in the process, but let's take 3 individuals that I plug in, for example. System's the same, right? The process is the same. It should work. You get a predictable result, but you didn't always get a predictable result. Out of those 3 people that came to my training, one would go back and his sales would blow up. He'd do amazing. Other one would go back. He'd stay about the same. Yeah. Third one would go back and get fired because he tanked out because he got in his head. And it's like, wait a second, that's not how this is supposed to work. So really, that's what got me going down this path of, all right, how can I help people more? How can I, really get, and I think you've probably seen this not only in yourself, but in the people you work with. We're our worst enemy a lot of times. We say we want different results. We say we want to do a certain thing, and then our stinking thinking and us getting, held up in trying to figure everything out sometimes gets totally in the way.
And you know what, man, kudos to you. I think there's a lot of power in niching, especially in the coaching space. Like there's nothing worse than a coach who professes to be everything to everyone. And I see it all the time. I probably see it more than you because we have so many coaches and people approach us to come on the show, but it's so unrealistic. So I think there's so much power in niching down on specific areas that you want to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that as well, like it makes it really easy. If somebody does come to like me and they do all the time and they say, hey, I'm after someone who can help with mindset. Like I know a mindset coach now, whereas like everyone who, like most business coaches just want to be everything to everyone and take any lead they can kind of get. That's bullshit.
No, it is. And I agree. I mean, I do say I have a different approach because I don't work with just anybody, like you say, on everything, but I do have a lot of tools in my tool belt. And so my approach when I meet with a prospect is just like when I was selling home improvements in the home. It's let's find out what the need is and then see if I have something in my repertoire of tools that will help them. But that being said, I found none of my tools work as well as they can if you've got, self-limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, the one thing that's interesting, and here in the States where I work, I'm sure it's that way pretty much everywhere. Nobody wakes up and or graduates business school and says, hey, I'm going to start a trades business, right? Usually we come out of the trades. Either you're a really good craftsman or sometimes you're a really good salesperson. Yeah. Most of the people I work with, they were a really good craftsmen and they didn't even mean to start a business sometimes. They just were really good at what they did and they were working for themselves. And all of a sudden, this business is now bigger than they are.
Yeah.
And the paradigms, the mindset that got them to that point, which got them get things done, do everything myself, not have to trust or worry about relying on others. Yeah. Now it becomes a huge liability. It was a huge strength in the early days. Yeah. And now it becomes a liability and holds them back. So
it's actually, I mean, one of the reasons I started the podcast was because of that exact reason. The fact that you go through technical college and you learn your trade and, you could be the best plumber, electrical, builder, whatever, insert trade in the world. But if you don't know how to run a business, then you're setting yourself up for disaster, And you see it all the time, like just shonky tradespeople that are really good at marketing and they're always busy. And you see really good tradesmen that are shit at marketing and then they've never got any work, end up going under or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You don't know what you don't know. And I think all of these conversations are quite, I mean, obviously we're preaching to the choir here, we're talking to people that want to learn and we're talking to people that listen to these and watch these podcasts because they're trying to get information and better their businesses and better themselves. But I tend to agree with you that it all starts with mindset, whether you know it or not. And I suppose certainly being receptive and being responsive to information. It doesn't mean you have to always take everything on board. And I encourage people not to, but certainly be receptive and responsive to it because there's a lot of people out there and a lot of, I suppose, programs and tools and techniques and books and podcasts and specialists and whatever that can really help in various areas of your business. And I think as well, there's a time and a place for different types of expertise and different types of tools that you're going to need. Like, for example, when you're starting out in a business, you're probably not going to be that interested in learning about mergers and acquisitions, like you want to make your phone ring and you want to be able to, keep your guys organized. And, there's ideally finding coaches and mentors and training programs or books or whatever that can help you at that point in stage in your business is what's really powerful. Yeah. I know I've got sucked into that trap early when I was starting business. I was with this coaching program, which was a disaster. And it was, in the first month, they're teaching us about mergers and acquisitions. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I couldn't give a shit about mergers and acquisitions. Like, show me how to make my phone ring, So,
yeah, let's just get the pipeline full of work and get some cash
Exactly.
Get some things moving. Yeah, no, it's true.
And so we have designed a little mini series here based again on the Confessions of a Reformed Business Coach. We're going to be in episode 1, which is this episode. We're going to be talking about what to know better and do better. Episode 2, we've called Mind Blown. Episode 3, we've called There's a Better Way and It's Easier. So I'm looking forward to jumping into these. Your website is Shawn. Okay, how do you say your last name again?
It's Feurer.
Feurer.
It's not like it's spelled at all. It sounds like a church foyer almost. Right. But yeah, Shawn Feurer.
Okay, cool, Shawn. But anyway, the spelling, guys, is ShawnFeurer. FEURER.com. And if you want to reach out to Shawn, by all means, go ahead. He's also in the Facebook community now, so you can ask questions when you see this podcast come out. Strangely enough, Shawn, I don't think I've ever, in almost 300 episodes, done specific episodes on mindset, which is bloody insane, coming to think of it. Because I know we've touched on it in a bunch of different podcasts, but I don't think I've ever done anything specifically on mindset. So I'm kind of looking forward to this myself. I feel like over the years, I might have become a bit jaded and a bit bitter with certain things myself. I see it in emails I receive from time to time. I'm just like getting angry, in front of my computer, thinking, what's going on? You shouldn't be doing this. So
Right.
So cool. Episode 1, we may as well jump right in. So we're talking about know better, do better. Who are we talking to here?
Know better, do better. It is really along this concept called the knowing doing gap. And this is like the first step in understanding the mindset. And we're really speaking to anybody I know we said I don't want to be
anyone that has a mind,
everybody, but if you have a mind, if you're a human being that has a functioning mind, a lot of times we think we need more information. We think we need when we really don't. And an example I always use is kind of with health and wellness. Matt, if you wanted to lose weight, if you wanted to get in better shape, do you know what to do? You have a pretty good idea. You do, right? Exercise, drink more water,
eat
healthier. We know all the things to do, but then we find ourselves doing something differently. In fact, sometimes we'll find ourselves doing even the counter opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. Walk into someone's office, there's some delicious Krispy Kreme donuts. Don't even think about it. I got a donut in my mouth. Literally, it's the subconscious program that's running, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's the first step in this, is just coming to realize that good part of my day, I'm not in control, even though I think I am. And there's different studies. I don't know what you've heard, and I'd love to some input from you, Matt, but most people say it's between 92 to 97% of our day is subconscious. We're really not in control thinking about it.
Really?
Yeah. And I know when I first heard this, that to me is a challenging statement. It's like, no, I'm very aware. I'm very conscious. I know what I'm doing. But the more you pay attention, and again, this whole mindset thing is levels of awareness. The higher level of awareness I get, I'm now going to be keen to, what am I doing in this situation? Where does this action come from? When you get up in the morning, when you put on your pants, you're going to put either your left leg or your right leg first every single time. You're not going to think about it. You're just going to do it. That's the way we're
I normally just jump into both. Don't you do that? That's why that tooth's dead. Can you see that?
You did the face flash.
I always have to wear a mouth guard when I put my pants on.
But the little tasks, I shave my head. I'm a bald man. I shave my head. I don't think about it. I get to think about everything else I want to do that day while I'm doing it because of the efficiency of the subconscious mind. Everything we're doing is some level of program.
So does this, okay, so let's, with that in mind, like I'm big on optimization at the moment, like everything. I improve process. I want to improve productivity. I want to improve all sorts of things, right? And I've read some really cool books about like habit creation and, things like that. And, a lot of these, it's kind of cliche. You would have heard it before, it takes 30 days to create a habit, 100 days to create a habit, whatever it might be, right? But then fundamentally, I think behind all of that, they're sort of saying, well, at 30 days, at 90 days, whatever book you're reading, whatever spin you're putting on it, that kind of becomes more of a subconscious action than like a physical, I need to do this. Like you just do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and for this mindset work, one thing we should probably define, because habit is part of it.
Right.
But like when you hear the word paradigm, what does that mean to you? If you hear the word paradigm, Matt, what do you think of?
It's a conflict, or it's like there's a conflict in thinking, or there's an alternative to something.
Okay. And see, for me, a paradigm is kind of a set way of thinking, and we define it as a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and habits that are buried in the subconscious mind.
Okay.
So for this podcast, as we're talking, when I say the word paradigm, I'm meaning it's a program that we're running. And part of it is just a habit, right? Some of it, this thing that takes 30 days, but that's not all it is. I mean, there's so many paradigms that we run. If you think about it, as a newborn baby, as a human baby born into this world, we are programmed what language to speak, what food to eat, what to be afraid of. From a newborn baby doesn't have paradigms. As humans, we get these paradigms. So the first question is defining them. What are paradigms? And they're a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and habits that reside in the subconscious mind. Thinking about the fact that those are running 95% of my day. And this is where the knowing doing gap, because I might know some of them, but if the program I'm running behind the scenes is different than what I know I want to do, I'm not going to have a hard time changing that. And so the first question is, how do those paradigms get there? And you talk about, habits are one part of it, 30 days, but the original paradigms, there's no specific timing. It's either one of two things. It's spaced repetition of thought, somebody telling me something over and over an extended period of time, or me telling myself, or it's an emotional event.
Right.
And emotional events can create an immediate paradigm, right? Somebody gets bit by a dog when they're a young child. That took 1 second, and now that could be a whole lifetime of being afraid of dogs, right?
Right.
Didn't take 30 days. It took this powerful event. And when I'm talking paradigms with contractors that I work with, and if you have anything come of you can think of your own experiences, Matt, or anyone you've worked with. But one paradigm I see is a scarcity mindset. Something happened when they were growing up where there wasn't enough money, and a parent told them over and over and over again. And even when they get to, I've worked with people that 6 and 7 figure earners that still suffer from a scarcity mindset because it was programmed so strongly as a young child that they're looking at their bank account with a bunch of money in it, and they're still afraid they're going to lose it all. This is where the mindset becomes so important, because it doesn't matter if you have $10,000, $100,000, $1 million. If you've got a scarcity mindset, you're never going to have that peace of mind that you're looking for with the money in the first place.
Yeah, so a lot of that, I guess, is kind of systemic, right? Like a lot of those things. You look at, for example, like the baby boomer generation, our parents, they were investing in, or they bought a house or whatever, and like maybe they bought an investment property, and then years later it's, they're saying to us, well, you need to go and you need to do this, you need to do that. But like, it's completely different because, like the costs of everything's changed. Or back then, or maybe a better example might be, well, you need to go and get a really good job and, or go to school and study hard, and then go to university and get a degree, and then get a really good job and work for 50 years for someone. And then you can get a gold watch and a dead chicken like I did, and it's like, what?
No, well, and that is part of the program too. The foods we eat, the language we speak, the beliefs we have, they all come from that. And here in the United States, and what you just described is very similar. That I was programmed that way. I knew that I had to go to college. I had a family business I grew up in. I was going to work in the family business until I got my degree, get a good job, build a house, get a nice picket fence, have 4 beautiful kids, do all. And I did it. I did the program. And about 7 years ago, I realized I was miserable, man.
Sorry, kids, get out.
Sorry, mom, kids, get out. Dad's doing something different now. But yeah, so and I guess this is the empowering part too, Matt. And I call myself a reformed business coach because I help people make more money, and I love that. But I focus on 3 areas with people, and it just naturally happens with this mindset. It's finances always get better. Health and wellness always gets better, and relationships get better, and especially your relationship with yourself. So going back to that with the paradigm and the programming.
Yeah. That whole concept ties like heavily into, a concept I've read, a long time ago. Actually, I think it's another sporting / business analogy where it's like, when it was referring to golf, and there was a golf coach talking about how it's so much easier to work with somebody that hasn't played golf because they don't have to unlearn the bad habits. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of touching on what we're talking about here as well. Like we've got these preconceptions and we've got these ideas in our head and these actions and these things that we do. and we just do them because we've always done them, for better or worse, but often worse. But I mean, you ask for examples, you look at the evolution or the revolution of, technology in the trades, and how much technology has been implemented in the way that trade businesses today operate, through tools like project management and through tools like, job management, calendar booking, scheduling software, blah, 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 CRM, all this kind of stuff. And, if you're a 30, 40, 50-year-old, contractor, and you're thinking, why would I ever adopt any of these things? I've always done it this way. This is the way that my boss taught me when I was an apprentice. This is the way that his boss taught him when he was an apprentice. Like, it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Whereas, the paradigm there is, well, there's much better ways of doing things. You just need to be receptive and responsive to it.
Yeah. Well, and again, and we talked about the scarcity program that was programmed in from a young age. The other one that is a program is that I have to work harder, that I literally have to work harder to get better results. And if you look at it in the trades, and this is no offense to people that work hard, but usually the people that work the hardest get paid the least. If you look on the pay scale, like the laborers busting their ass working the hardest, a lot of times are down on the pay scale. And it comes back to a program. And again, this is where the mindset comes in. Where did that program, I was told when I was young, I got to work hard, right? If you want something, my dad, when I wanted allowance, it was like, even if it was going to move a pile of rocks from one side of the backyard to the other, he'd come up with some manual labor shit that this is what I want you to do to get $2, right? And so we are programmed from that young age. And then we get to, like you're talking about, 30, 40, 50-year-old in the trades. There's easier ways to do business, but we're programmed so strongly that I have to work hard, that even when I have a good idea presented to me, sometimes the program takes over and I'm not open to it.
Yeah, right, for sure. So I guess, like, essentially what we're saying is find information, get information, like be receptive to other ways of doing things, right? So we say know better. If you know more, you can do more, right? Like, if you know different ways of doing things, you can approach things differently. Is that fundamentally the concept here?
It's not only knowing things, it's I think knowing where you're getting in your own way. I mean, that's really what this know better, do better is, understanding. And it's interesting because the program I teach with my clients, one of the ways we do this is to have you set a worthy goal, right? To have you reach for something you've never, if I ask you, say I'm working with a sales rep and the sales rep has never sold more than 700,000 a year, and I'm trying to get him to 1 million. And I tell him, I think he can do it if he changes some of his thinking and a couple of his habits. He'll say yes at first, and then he'll immediately go to the reasons he can't. And those are the paradigms. So I guess anybody listening, I would say, think about, because not only are we programmed the language and some of the other things, we're programmed to an income level. I mean, we really are. It's like a thermostat that's set. I mean, there's a reason that, like, lottery winners lose their money within a certain amount of time, almost every time. And there's a reason multi-millionaires and billionaires, if they lose their money, will get it back, because they're programmed. Their mindset is programmed enough. So for you, it's saying, where am I at, and what paradigms, what programs am I running that are keeping me there?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, give us some frameworks here. Like, what are we, like, obviously this stuff is great, but how do we apply this? How do we make positive change? What are we doing?
So with the paradigms, and let me just define those a little bit more, because this will give my, so we talked about the paradigms are the programs that run. They're going to run 95% of my day. They get there from repetitive thought and emotional events, right? They run 95% of my day. Mm-hmm. This one right here, and if you're listening and you hear this right, it's gonna piss you off, and then it's gonna free you. And it's the fact that however old you are, when I first heard this was a few years ago, I was about 45 years old. It's like, I'm running 95% of my day running programs that aren't true and aren't mine. Because think about that. The paradigms, the stuff that's programmed in, that comes from parents, from school.
Sure.
From
fears,
church.
Fabricated fears, church, every religion, Christ.
Yeah. So we're living, I mean, this is kind of a funny old analogy, but think of a baby elephant. It gets tied to a stake in the ground, and it gets trained that it can't break free, right?
Yeah.
That's our paradigms. Like when I'm working with a business owner that's trying to grow his business, and every time we have a good idea, he doesn't have enough time, he doesn't have enough money. All these programs that are running are that little stake in the ground, that little rope holding them back. Yeah. And so to me, I guess the first step is understanding that I have programs running that are outdated. And if I want new ones, I got to first make a decision. That would be step one. Make a decision. Like, what do you want different? And then really identify the places you're holding yourself back.
Yeah, it's a lot of, like, looking on the inside, isn't it? Confronting the reality. You see it with fears all the time. Like, I live in Australia here. The place is full of, like, little spiders, and people freak out over these tiny little things like this big, And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're 1,000 times the size of this thing. All you do is need to tread on it if it scares you that much. Like it's just this fabricated fear. And for the better part, it's passed down to us because our parents are like, oh my God, spiders, Why? Why
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
afraid of it? I've got a 2-year-old daughter and I just try my best not to make her afraid of things. And like, when my mum comes and look after her and they'll go to the park and she'll be like, oh, be careful on the slide. And I'm like, Mum, let her go down the slide. There's no reason to be afraid of it. She's never fallen off it. She's never slid. Like, she's fine. Just let her do it. Like, she's a kid, like, stop trying to beat these fears into her. Or at the beach, like, sure, you got to look after them. You got to be, make sure they don't drown, but you still got to let them experience these things. Like, if I didn't let her ever go near a dog because a dog bit someone once, like, what good is that doing?
No. Well, and that's a great example, because a baby will put a spider in its mouth. It doesn't know to be afraid of it. It gets programmed to be afraid of it, right? And that's the thing too. I mean, I know with this worldwide pandemic, we've been dealing, and I know there's a lot of divide on this subject, so I don't want to go too deep. But the one thing that has been created by it is some fear and some scarcity. Businesses have been affected, people have been affected, and so if I have old programs, I saw it. Last February when this hit, I had a whole batch of clients coming in, and as soon as this thing started hitting, those that had the strongest paradigms of scarcity and fear and anxiety, it's uncontrollable. Oh, yeah. It did, yeah. In fact, at the end of the program, I got tons of kudos, like, thank you. I don't know how I would have made it through this because my old patterns came up. So I guess the biggest takeaway is, one, just realizing, that you can look in the mirror and really change your results by getting honest with yourself of where you're holding yourself back.
And in your experience, where do those biggest paradigms exist currently with the contractors and, construction-based businesses that you work with?
Okay, so I mentioned it a lot. Scarcity is a big one. It just is. And scarcity is an underlying, but scarcity runs into time and money too.
Sure.
If they don't have enough money, they don't have enough time, and we're time creators. We make time for whatever we want. Sure. You know that, right? If I have a goal and I'm excited about it, I'm going to sleep less. I'm going to get up earlier. I'm going to make time. So scarcity is a big one that underlies. There's this funny thing called the control paradigm that I see with a lot of contractors trying to control everything in their world. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I've come to the realization that I don't control anything in my world other than me. Me and my thoughts. I don't control anything else.
Funnily enough, it wasn't until I had a child that I realized just how little control you actually have over pretty much everything.
Yeah, I wait till they get. I have four late teen, early 20-year-olds. Just wait till they get older, man.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Zero control over what goes on.
Yeah, it was pretty evident when she was born 2 months earlier than expected, and I was like, well, there goes that plan. This doesn't fit. This wasn't in the rule book.
No, but again, if I'm a tradesman, no matter what job, when I'm running a small job, I can control everything. Or I can think I can, right? When I start growing my company, I start having to let go and lose control. And that's a paradigm I see. Like I was saying, if I have a good business system, if the owner has a strong control paradigm, the other one is not trusting others. If I want it done right, I have to do it myself. That's, somewhere along the line, something happened, somebody they cared about let them down, and they decided they had to do it themselves. And again, this is what's crazy about this, is it serves you to a point. In the companies I've worked with, it usually serves you to about the $1 to $3 million point. And at that point, you start getting enough employees that now you got to start letting go. You start trusting, and no matter what hiring practices I give you, what training, all the systems in the world, if you don't get out of your own way, and that's the confessions of the business coach coming out of me. The number one problem I saw in most small business is the owner themselves.
Sure. Like the fish rots from the head down.
Yes, the fish rots from the head down. And bull in the china closet. They come in the office yelling at people, shouting, making chaos and leaving, and then somebody in the organization has to clean it up. So that's another one. That's a really, I think, important point. Like you can, and that sort of probably fuels the problem as well. Like you're saying, like it works so well to get me to 1 to 3 mil or whatever, and now I just can't grow. I work with a coach out here in Australia who has a program around we did a podcast series on it, the $1 to $3 million dead zone, he called it. He goes, it's pretty much what you're talking about here. It's like, it'll get you to there, but it won't get you to here, and that whole reality around, and then it, like you say, it becomes then a conversation of, well, if I want to remove myself, oh my God, if I don't deal with this weekly, I do this with my own business, like in the similar sort of, stage in the business where, and I'm actively trying to remove myself from things. So I know I can't
be there to grow the business if I'm doing everything, And so I'm aware of it, and I love actually the system creation side of things and trying to bring people in to replace me in roles and all that kind of stuff. I love that. But I think I'm aware of that paradigm. I'm aware of the benefits of that. I've seen that I'm doing it. I'm actively invested in that. Whereas I think a lot of people that it's kind of foreign to, that have never had to do it, it's a big smack in the face,
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. And, one thing I found, I talk about myself and I get vulnerable and real, right? I mean, that's one thing in the world of business coaching too, is we have a lot of egos involved, a lot of chest pumping. I don't do that. So a few years ago, I went through a divorce, right? And it was a painful experience. I went from running a construction company with 60 employees, family full of, 4 kids and 5, to doing a lot of things myself, right? When I started my consulting business, it was just me. I just recently hired an assistant, but we talk about emotional event happens. I learned I couldn't trust other people for a little bit, right? Because of the marriage, because of some of the things in the business. And so this really strong paradigm, I'm a mindset coach and I get it. And I'm still struggling with it. Like you say, I've got a wonderful assistant that's ready, willing, and able to take everything off my plate. And I keep trying to do it myself. I keep taking it back from her. And this is the knowing doing gap. I know better. I know what I want to do, but it's my underlying programming conditioning that's getting in the way.
So is that what you recommend for businesses, or for listeners and viewers out there, is sit down honestly with a notepad and jot down all the things that are certainly holding you back, whether it's in departments or whether it's bigger picture, reaching goals, whatever it might be?
I honestly, this one will get some people's attention. I would say whatever your annual income is right now, write down that's now your monthly income.
Right.
Figure out what that would be and think about that for a minute and get excited about it, because that's going to stretch your mind. But then immediately what's going to kick in are all the reasons that's not possible for you. Then write them down. That the first step is think something big to get you out of your comfort zone. And then your self-limiting beliefs will try and pull you right back in. So that's what I would do.
I love that, actually. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because then that gives you something to actually focus on, doesn't it? That's these are the reasons that can't happen right now. That's great. Now I know where I need to focus my energy to fix that.
Yeah. And then basically I go through those lists and I figure out what the underlying paradigm is. If it's scarcity, if it's control, and this is another one too, Matt, that I talk. And again, I get real personal with my clients. I get touchy-feely. Of all these self-limiting beliefs that we have, you know what the foundational one that they all sit on, that all of us lack just a little bit in? And it's about ourselves. It's, am I enough?
Right.
It's, am I enough? It really is. I mean, you can talk to anybody in this space, and if they really dive into it and say, what is the number one thing holding people back? It's that need to be appreciated. It's that inner lacking of being appreciated by yourself. So you're always looking. I mean, that's why some people build big businesses, is to try and compensate for that little tiny hole inside.
Sure.
So as I'm going through that list, that's the other thing is, if I want to make my annual income, my monthly income, the first thing is I'm worth it. I got to decide that, because if I don't figure I'm worth it, we don't attract what we want. We attract who we are. And I got to become that. And that's a really big discussion. I do a lot of work with my clients on self-image and self-love, which is not something that the trades talk about a lot, right? I mean, no. When I used to go to contractor conventions, it wasn't, there's always sales training, there's always marketing, there's some HR. Nobody says, hey, we need to get more self-love. We need to get more confidence in who we are and what we do. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, we work on that, you're going to get better results out of every person in your organization.
I love that. So let's recap on that little that task you've just set for people. So take your annual income currently, make it your monthly income, write it down, and then all the reasons that pop into your head about why that won't happen at the moment. That gives you a list of things you can go and attack.
Yes. Yes. And then I want you to hear my little voice in your head saying all the reasons that you said you couldn't. They're just like all your paradigms. They're not true and they're not yours. So overcome them. Kick them in the ass. Get them out of there.
Well, I mean, it's not, perhaps they may be true. I can't do this because I haven't got the right staff. True. But you need to go and find them, right?
But that's making the assumption that you need the right stuff. That if you decide on it and you put your mind on it, sometimes things come into our experience that assist us, right? And this is where the power of this mindset is. We think we have to come up with the how all on our own, and we don't. When we really get clear on our vision and what we want, universe, God, laws, whatever you want to call it, things. I mean, have you ever had that happen, Matt, where you're looking for something and all of a sudden the right person pops into your head, or the right person calls you out of the blue, and things just fall in place, and you're like, wow, that was a coincidence.
What's when when the teacher is ready, the student appears.
Yeah. So when you're looking at your list, get ready for the teacher, right? Say, okay, this seems like a problem. Be open to the fact that it's easier solved than you think. It's not going to take years. It's not going to take as much effort as you think. And that's the problem. That's like in the next episode, when I want to talk about even more is how do we make it easier? And that's the mind blown. That's the mind blown part.
All right. Well, why don't we wrap this one up then? And we're going to come back next week with the following episode, which is going to be about mind blown. Does that work for you? Is there anything you want to close off on?
Yeah. Nope. That works. That works. And if you have questions on the paradigms, hit me up in the group.
Yeah.
This is powerful information. It really is. We're running programs that we can change. You can change the program that's running very easily.
Absolutely. Well, Shawn, thanks for your time. I'm going to put all links to, guys, if you want to get hold of Shawn or find out more about him in the show notes. So I won't bother reading it out again because the spelling of his last name is too awkward. But head across to the show notes and you'll be able to get access to Shawn there. And I suppose we should have a big thank you to Pat for the introduction. Pat Reddiau over in the US, who was on.
Pat with Pond Roofing in Virginia. He's an amazing business owner. He's got a great mindset. If you ever want help, reach out to him in the group. He's a good dude. Yeah,
he's a good guy. And he was on, I did a podcast with him 291. So it was about 5 or 6 ago. 7 ago. There you go. Cool. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up and then we're going to come back with the following episode next week. So thank you again, Shawn. And that is a wrap. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to thesiteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.